All right, people. So welcome to the Robert Greene Book Club, where we break down all of Robert Greene's books in this format. So today we're going to be continuing with the first chapter of the Laws of Human Nature, which is about how to bring out your rational self. We've already done 3 or 4 videos on this, so if you haven't, you guys can go to my Patreon or just go to my YouTube channel and you'll see short clips of it. But let's continue this. Hopefully, I could finish this in 2 episodes. So this one today and then the other one tomorrow. So let's begin with this chapter, okay? And this chapter is pretty much about how to become more rational, right? Now, if you guys don't know about the Robert Greene Book Club, click on the description down below. You'll see where it says join the Robert Greene Book Club, where I break down all of his videos because a lot of the concepts of Robert Greene's books are very applicable, but sometimes they're a little abstract. And sometimes you don't know how to apply it because it just sounds abstract. Like, for example, in the Robert Greene says in a book, play to people's fantasies, right? You're like, okay, how the fuck do I do that, right? And here I come, Mr. Know-It-All, and I'd be like, okay, what are fantasies? Things that we fantasize about, okay? So if a guy likes Sailor Moon, as an example, like a really big example, then he's gonna be attracted to a woman who dresses like Sailor Moon. You're playing to their fantasy. If a guy likes, if or another example is that if a guy seems to always have one type of woman, dark hair, light skin, big titties, right? As an example, then if you're blonde and have everything but the hair, change the hair to black, and all of a sudden you're gonna play up into his fantasies. You turn a fantasy into a reality, and all of a sudden they'll be attracted to you. That's an example of what I do in these types of videos. All right. So let's begin.
Step 3. Strategies toward bringing out the rational self. Despite
It's crazy that you need a strategy to literally bring out your rational self. Because in the last chapter, in the last time, Robert talked about how being rational is not normal. It's just not normal. Unless you're a psychopath. It's just not normal. If you are a normal person, you have to go above and beyond to bring out your rational self.
our pronounced irrational tendencies, two factors should give us all hope. First and foremost is the existence throughout history and in all cultures of people of high rationality.
And those people usually tend to stand out. He's going to talk about it right now. Like,
The types who have made progress possible. They serve as ideals for all of us to aim for. These include Pericles, the ruler Asoka of ancient India, Marcus Aurelius of ancient Rome, Marguerite de Valois in medieval France, Leonardo da Vinci, Charles Darwin, Abraham Lincoln.
and notice all of those people are not evil. Because I think evil is a part of irrationality. Doing good and trying to provide good for people, trying to make other people's lives better, not stealing from them, to me is the height of rationality. So you can't tell me like fucking Emperor, like the guy, Emperor Palpatine, who's considered rational, is rational because he's not. He's isolating himself. He's so powerful that people are afraid of him. You can't say that Putin is rational, right? Because he is doesn't care about other people's lives. He's completely out of touch with humanity. That is the ultimate form of irrationality. So you may have people who have tactical rationality where they could create a plan and create and fulfill a plan that you had in mind. But to me, the ultimate rationality is giving and providing good things for other people, not scamming people. That's rationality. I don't care what people tell me. 1 plus 1 is not rational. Helping people, not scamming grannies, is rationality. That's what I think. A common dose of decency, pretty much.
The writer Anton Chekhov, the anthropologist Margaret Mead, and the businessman Warren Buffett, to name but a few. All of these types share certain qualities: a realistic appraisal of themselves and their weaknesses, a devotion to truth and reality.
Notice how it's not about where they could see the future or they created the best business. The first step towards rationality is knowing yourself. Because you cannot be rational and not know yourself. Because there are people who have no idea, who have no self-awareness, and yet they're able to create a good plan for a war, or they're able to create a good book, or they're able to manipulate. But that doesn't mean they're rational, because the first thing that needs to be illuminated is yourself. And above all, your flaws and strength. And have a realistic appraisal, not be grandiose. And see yourself from a humble and playful point of view where you don't take yourself too seriously. Like, I know my weaknesses, I know my strengths and limitations. Now, the next step from knowing your strengths and limitations is accepting that there are people who are better than you, that there are people who have the traits that you want, the quality of life that you want, and not resent that. Because you could acknowledge who you are, but then sometimes you might lose that acknowledgement because you're comparing what you don't like, what you don't have, to other people. And that comparison will destroy any sense of rationality that you have achieved through self-observation. So don't just observe your weaknesses and then compare and feel bad about yourself. Observe your weaknesses and then see how can you improve by observing other people who have the same weaknesses and improved upon it.
A tolerant attitude toward people, and the ability to reach goals that they have set. A devotion to truth and reality. A tolerant attitude toward people, and the ability to reach goals that they have set. The second factor is that almost all of us at some point in our lives have experienced moments of greater rationality. This often comes with what we shall call the maker's mindset.
I experienced that when I was in the meditation retreat. I saw my mind with such clarity. When I saw myself for how I was, I didn't find anything there. I just saw a hollow space with a ghost that has no existence and no ground in reality. This self that you call is an illusion. It really is. Like, again, I know look, you're listening to me. Most likely you're not in a deep meditative state. Me neither am I right now, to fully understand the scope of how true that is. That is a truth that cannot be understood. It's a truth that could literally be experienced. That's the only way. I'm sorry. It's like explaining to you a color that you've never seen before. It's like it's like, what? I'm like, sorry, that's as close as me explaining, trying to use a real language to explain it. Like that will take you closer to that color than me trying to explain it in a real rational way.
We have a project to get done, perhaps with a deadline. The only emotion we can afford is excitement and energy. Other emotions simply make it impossible to concentrate. Because we have to get results, we become exceptionally practical. We focus on the work, our mind calm, our ego not intruding.
This happens a lot when I am drawing, and this happens a lot when I am on a deadline, like he said. And the reason why he says that is because rationality is about also knowing what's important and what's not important, and highlighting what's important. Irrationality is about not knowing what's important and what's not important, and unconsciously highlighting what's not important. And it's almost like you have to this type of stuff cannot be done if you have a lot of self-sabotaging emotions. Like, for example, a lot of people don't like looking at their balance sheet, how much money they're making, how much money they have, because they're in denial, right? That fear, that uncomfortable feeling, it's uncomfortable for them. And they keep spending and spend and spend and spend, and not look at their balance. And then they'll say, "Oh my God, I'm overdue. Oh my God, I'm in the negative. I owe money now." That happened because they consciously didn't want to face the emotion that will arise if they realize that they're fucking broke. In other words, they don't want to look at reality eyeball to eyeball. They're afraid of reality. And we tend to see that in so many places, in procrastination, right? We tend to see that even in people quitting things. Like, for example, when I was in the meditation retreat, I wanted to quit. I wanted to quit so badly. but I stayed, right? And the desire to quit was so intense that every second of my meditation retreat, I just want to get the fuck out. I'm just being honest with you. But my rationality I told myself, no, you stay. Because at the end of this rainbow, there's a pot of gold in the form of peace and happiness. And I did it. And by me following through a rational decision, it allows me now to make even more rational decisions. Rational decisions have a momentum about them. If you make a rational decision today, most likely you'll make one tomorrow. If you make an irrational decision today, most likely you will make an irrational decision tomorrow. It's how that works. Rationality is all about going upstream. Irrationality is about going with the stream because it's easy. You want to go with the emotions, with what your emotions say, which is usually conserving energy, not doing anything. Rationality is upstream, and that's why it takes effort. But because it takes effort, you become stronger in the process. And then one day the upstream stops, and now you're low. Now you're going downstream. But now going downstream, you're strong. So now you're faster. Like, you have to exercise in rationality is not easy, people. It's not. Exercising rationality is exercising your mind. And to me, the most rational humans on earth are enlightened beings, the Buddhists, the people who you see meditating consistently. Those are the most rational people on the planet because they have the frontal cortex. It's just so tight. The connections are so tight because studies show that meditation strengthens your frontal cortex, which is the seat of rationality.
If people try to interrupt or infect us with emotions, we resent it. These moments, as fleeting as a few weeks or hours, reveal the rational self that is waiting to come out.
So he's saying you're focusing, and you're so focused on getting the job done that when someone interrupts you, you kind of resent it and you ignore it even more, right? Where your emotions will naturally gravitate towards distraction, your rational side will gravitate against distraction. So look at your environment. How rational is it? How set is it to avoid distractions, right? Because we all sabotage ourselves. One of the ways we sabotage ourselves is that we know we have to focus, but we keep our phone on. And then when we get distracted, we complain. Think about that. How crazy is that? We literally know this could distract us. We keep it there. And then somebody distracts us and we take it and we go with it. And then a few hours later, we realize we've been distracted and then we get mad. What the fuck? Think about how crazy that is. There is a weird sardonic pleasure in that. And that pleasure is only savored by your lower self. You know? That pleasure is only tasted by your lower self. Your higher self finds that bitter and disgusting. But sometimes you're not in touch with how disgusting your higher self is because you don't work on it. Because it takes effort. The first step to rationality is accepting your irrational nature and taking that first step uphill, even though it hurts. The first step towards irrationality is taking the easy path and taking the first step downhill.
It just requires some awareness and some practice. The following strategies are designed to help you bring out that inner Pericles or Athena. Know yourself thoroughly.
All right, people.
The emotional self.
We're going to continue this on Patreon, but if you guys want to watch the whole clip, because honestly, I would totally post more of it, but last time, YouTube was literally like ramrodding the video with copyright, like demonetization, like being blocked. And that's because I can't let the video play as much as I want because then it'll be a copyright. So I have to pause it a lot when I post it on YouTube so that it could be, so that it doesn't have to be blocked. But then when I post it on Patreon, we could listen more of the audiobook uninterruptedly and I could give you guys more reactions, but it's just there's less stops in the Patreon, all right? So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. We're going to continue this on Patreon, but take care and I'll see you guys next time. Oh, and the next chapter we're going to do after this is a chapter on narcissism. You guys are really going to like it.